It's 4:30. We will call this meeting of Dunn County's Judiciary and Law Committee to order. We'll call the roll. All the supervisors are here. Supervisor Bauer, Supervisor Wilsey, Supervisor Gilbert, Supervisor Vandermeulen, and myself. Approval of the minutes from the January 22nd meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Supervisor Vandermeulen. Supervisor Wilsey seconds. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Right. Next item is public comments. Are there any public comments, Katie? Okay. On to the staff reports. Don't see Marcy here. Is she?
She's on the phone.
Oh, she's on the phone. Okay. Why don't we skip the medical examiner and go to the sheriff's office, and we will circle back. Sheriff, anything to highlight or add to your report?
Not really, other than we'll get to later on the agenda, the carry forward request that'll be included in the total resolution for the full county board. Need approval by this committee to carry that forward. Otherwise, I don't believe I have anything more to add.
Thank you. Any questions for the sheriff?
Josh, I mean, now he's gonna be permanently gone, is that it, or is he just he can't find a desk job or something that would work, or is that?
No, it'll be a duty disability. Assuming he's got a lot of paperwork to go through yet with the HR department and work comp and stuff, but he's been deemed by his doctor that he cannot return to work in law enforcement due to the severity of his injury, and he's beyond, well, end of healing. He isn't going to get any better. So unfortunately, we'll be losing him and have to replace him. I guess that's one other thing I will add that maybe I included it in my report. You're right, I'm a week and a half prior to this meeting, so you kind of forget. But I'll be probably coming to you next meeting with a request to dispose of the eligibility list. We had 4 applicants, one of which was hireable. He was the only one that we interviewed that is certified and had 60 college credits. Once we make him a contingent job offer, we're doing his background right now. Once he gets a contingent job offer, we're going to have to start the hiring process all over again to fill Josh's position. So that'll be coming to you next month. Seems like we do that about every other month, but that's unfortunately the way hiring goes in law enforcement now.
Thank you. Marcy, we can come back up to the medical examiner's report. Anything to highlight or add to it? Oh, that's okay. I was reading through what you said about the closing of the HSHS.
Mm-hmm.
And about a morgue and transport vehicles. And at the bottom of that part, he said that it's worked out well, but do you see a concern coming? Or you want to describe that a little bit more if you could?
I don't see a concern coming, and the reason why I put it in my report is I've received many phone calls regarding HSHS closing. It has directly affected Chippewa County because they were using St. Joseph's Hospital's cooler system for their morgue. We never did use Sacred Hearts for that for numerous reasons that I can go into if anybody's interested, but we use the funeral homes as I had listed and work hard to have families name their funeral homes so the bodies go where they're meant to be going right away. Yeah, in the event that we don't have family selection, we have a couple of different funeral homes that serve our office to do body removals and storage of those bodies until we can get them to the funeral home of choice for families, or take that responsibility from our office if it's an unclaimed body. So that system has been working well. And as I touched on a little bit, if we went with having a county morgue or a combined county morgue with other offices from other counties nearby us, that would cost more for and it would be increased for our county with county vehicles, transportation. So we don't see a need to change at this time, not through Dunn County or Eau Claire County,
But you're keeping an eye on it, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody, any questions for Marcy? Nope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is the courts. Katie.
Okay. I do have something additional to add. I placed in front of all of you this evening. This is not on the agenda for a carry forward, but I was just informed today that as part of our courtroom project, that the vendor did not bill us out for all of the installation costs. That was an oversight. It was supposed to be billed out and paid out of our 2023 budget. So I worked with Dan Dunbar this afternoon and Chris Corbola, and the process or kind of recommendation was is if I mention it as part of my report tonight, and if all of you were in agreement to supporting this, we could move this as part of the 2023 carry forward request in March that Beata will help take care of. So this was an oversight. It was supposed to be budgeted, or it was supposed to be paid out of 2023, and the vendor failed to do that. We overlooked that. So I just got a bill today for the rest of the billing out for that. And I'm like, wait a second, this was supposed to be paid for. They said they forgot to include it. It was kind of oversight on their part. So I want to make sure that the funds get paid out of our 2023 budget, as we had enough funds available for the project in 2023 compared to 2024. So if there's questions about that, or if you would be willing to say, yes, please move forward, we can move that forward this evening. Yeah, okay. Yep, and it didn't need to be a motion or a second, just all in favor, if everybody's agreeing to it, that's fine. We finally got the project completed last week. A lot of hours were put in. Things are running well with the courtroom. So essentially, it was the background equipment as part of our courtroom technology, that it was old software that was at end of life. So our IT department had reached out to me saying, we need to look at this, or one day there's going to be a catastrophic failure in our courtroom with that part of the software equipment not working, and the courts would not be able to function with the Zoom capability. Zoom has new software features, so they call it a Zoom room. So now all of our courtrooms have an additional tablet for the clerks to run. So the courtroom functions as its own Zoom, like a Zoom meeting. So the courtroom, we invite the Zoom room to the meeting. There's nothing that needs to change with the judge's accounts. The state has purchased all of that licensing for us since the county has gone away from Zoom. This is a state-driven project as far as keeping Zoom operating the courts. So it's just like staff learning how to, instead of having Zoom on their computer, it is now on a tablet. So just a little user like education for everybody, but otherwise it's going well. The sheriff and I had a lot of students come in today as part of the homeschool group. There was only going to be about 35. Well, there was close to 90 that appeared today at the Judicial Center. So we had a lot of people that we were communicating with. But otherwise, I don't have anything else to add to my report.
If I can, Mr. Chair, can I? Josie, I'll give her a bad news for you for your budget. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So how's that gonna be for your overall budget when it comes? I mean, you're not gonna have the revenue that you had planned, so
Yeah,
is that gonna hurt you really bad? I mean,
I'm hoping it does, and I'm hoping we can bring in additional revenue, but yeah, this is a major hit to our budget. It just changed with Josie's requirements, and we had already budgeted for our 2024 budget. So due to their calculations, it's gonna be, at least a $30,000 decrease in what we would receive in revenue from the child support agency. I'm hoping we can make up, but so this year in 2023, we were able to return about $40,000. We can, for 2024, we can still have a little wiggle room in there, but I can't guarantee that either. Yeah, you're welcome.
Supervisor Vandermeer.
No, so it is a cooperative agreement season. They are, we're under a 2-year contract and it's up for renewal. And there's a saying, I think it's don't look a gift horse in the mouth. And I think someone did. And somebody at the state level was like, oh, perhaps this isn't worded just right or calculated just right. And we need to rein it in. I myself had the same questions 2 years ago because I thought this sounds too good to be true. And I was assured, no, it's absolutely fine. And now, fast forward, it's not. So the state has decided to honor any contracts that are currently not at their term. It's just unfortunate for us that ours has ended. So we can't use the same methodology for recouping clerk of court staff time for the work they assist the child support agency in doing. And it's kind of hard to have an exact number. The methodology that we're moving to is a time study where the family clerk will do a 2-week time study once per quarter. But like Katie said, I'm guessing it's going to be about a $30,000 decrease.
Thanks, Josie. Any other questions for Katie? Okay. We now go to the CJCC. Sarah, anything to highlight or add to your report?
I just want to highlight our first quarterly meeting is scheduled for Thursday of this week. So we're going to be reviewing and hopefully approving goals for the year and then looking at our data from 2023. We'll also have a presentation from Project Hope, behavioral health officers on the deflection and diversion programs that are up and running. But just wanted to highlight that upcoming meeting. That's all. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Next department is the district attorney. Andrea.
Since I submitted this report, I did offer one of the vacant victim witness assistant positions to an applicant. She's currently a student, but is doing it all online. So she'll start on March 11th. So we're really excited to finally have a person to fill the position, but she'll require significant training, new to the workforce. And then I forgot to add that about a week and a half ago, we had our server crash. So we came to work and couldn't get on anything. And since we're a paperless office, that was a bit of a challenge, but we were able to make do and at least see some of the documents. So then because our server is through the state, IT guy from Madison had to drive up here. He spent the night and then fixed it in the morning, and Chris Quilling worked with him and we were able to get a new server. And so I think he said it was very much due. It was ancient what we had. So that's good. And it's at no cost to the county since it's a state system. So it was a smooth transition to a crisis. No, the video footage we don't have. We're still using discs and flash drives at this point. So we're still working with evidence.com. They've been difficult I think every vendor has not been very responsive. We reached out to them and they said on February 13th, they were going to give us a new test environment because some of the features that we were given in our test environment it didn't have all of the features that we were going to have. So we were told it would be available around February 13th, and we are still waiting. So I think we're continuing to have issues with the amount of time it's taking the law enforcement agencies to upload or download them, onto the system. So we're continuing to work on that, but no breakthroughs yet.
Ernie? On to Child support. Josie.
I don't think I have anything to add. We already kind of touched on the cooperative agreements. It's been consuming a large amount of my time, but I'm supposed to submit them on Friday, so hopefully that comes off of my plate for 2 years. And our enterprise resource planning project, we've had a couple, introductory and kickoff type meetings, and that's gonna kind of jump into full swing this week. My pit meets tomorrow for our first real work meeting. So, anybody has any questions?
See any?
Thank you.
Thank you, Josie. And last but not least, emergency management. Melissa, anything to add or highlight?
I guess I do have one thing to add. Since I submitted this, we received a resignation from another dispatcher. So the battle continues. This dispatcher is transferring, I guess, to Wisconsin State Patrol Dispatch. So kind of a similar job, a little different. There's less 911 calls and less domestics and fires and things like that, but still the concept is the same. So she'll be with us until nearly the end of this month. But yeah, so the battle continues. Like I said, I think it's our new norm is to keep hiring. So we're doing the best we can.
Thank you. Any questions for Melissa?
System, are these separate units that various people have to communicate with, or how does that work? The the HF radio resources.
Yeah, so it's new. We've never been a part of it before. And so yeah, it's just basically to enhance some of our emergent backup communications, so we can utilize a lot more of the resources out there, and we'll work directly with the federal government on that, like such as our power outage that we had, our planned power outage that we had a couple weeks ago now. That was in question, like, what are we going to do? What resources are we going to use? And we had plenty of our own resources, but in a power outage, you hope all your backups and your backup to your backup works. And so this is just another bank of resources for us to utilize in different situations, both emergent and then, training. And speaking of our power outage, I don't know if that was the reason your server crashed up in the DA's office, but we did have a phone system go down that day, and it is still down. We're still waiting for parts on that. So, we did everything the way we were supposed to. We had a tech on scene to shut everything down the way it was supposed to. But when equipment runs 24 hours a day, for 5 years straight, you shut it down and then it didn't come back up. So we're still kind of waiting for that replacement. So
that big phone outage they had down south from AT&T, do we learn anything from that? Is there anything we could do? I mean, there's nothing we can do about the phones, I guess, but I mean, as far as calling emergency numbers, this is.
right.
Uh,
Yeah, it did impact, definitely some people here in Dunn County. There wasn't probably a lot we could do. I mean, I saw some of the posts from some of the other dispatch centers, and they're like, well, call our non-emergency number. Well, the phone didn't work, period. I mean, it was in SOS mode. There was nothing. I have AT&T on my phone, and I was able to use 911. I couldn't make any other calls other than that. But I was able to use it on 911, and especially if you use wireless calling. So if people are tech savvy, there were some workarounds to it. So as long as they were in a building with wireless service and they could attach themselves to that Wi-Fi in that building and use wireless calling, that did help the system. But
yeah, I haven't learned what the problem was. You know, I've received several texts saying, oh, we apologize for the inconvenience, but there's really no acknowledgement as to what happened. But yeah, it did impact people and it did make people nervous and, you know, a few test calls. I'm just making sure my phone works in case I do need it. And that's to be expected. I mean, we rely on these things for a lot, and a lot of people don't have home phones anymore, and so that's all you have. And if you have an emergency and it's not going to work for you, it makes you nervous. So we had a few of those calls where people were just testing it to make sure that it was going to work for them.
Bob, thanks, Melissa. Okay. I'm on. Moving down to number 8, consideration of reports, resolutions, and ordinances to the county board from the Judiciary and Law Committee. We have a carry forward request by the sheriff's office. Would you like to detail that a little bit, Sheriff?
Sure. As I've kept you updated for the last year, our struggles with trying to get squads delivered. And then come to find out our 2023 squads weren't built, and then they were going to be delivered and all be built together with our 2024 squads. So the squads we did not receive in 2023 is, so we're requesting to carry forward the $91,764.50. Plus we had a vehicle totaled, and the total loss of that was $21,700. So there's $16,700 that's minus the $5,000 deductible on our crash. So we're requesting the combination of the $91,000 out of our vehicle and equipment line item carried forward. We actually did receive 2 of our squads last week or the week before, so there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But then the additional $16,700 that we've received from the insurance company to replace that totaled squad. And then an additional $5,000 to cover that deductible out of vehicle repair and maintenance. And then Sheriff's Canine Patrol donation is a kind of a rollover account from year to year. So that doesn't go back to the general fund. It's carried forward from year to year. Net donation account. It's private citizens that will donate anything from $100 to $5,000 at times to our canine fund for the upkeep of our dogs and eventually the replacement of our canines when the time comes. So that's $18,396.72. And then we've got a donations line item for the first responders as well. Our Dunn County First Responders is under the umbrella of the sheriff. It's included in my budget, and they're all volunteers. They respond to ambulance calls, crashes, you name it. When an ambulance is called to the rural part of the county, volunteer first responders go out and respond to those calls. But they also work events such as the large demolition derby in Boyceville this summer, and we can't charge for it because they're volunteers, but those organizations, along with I can't remember which organization puts on the water skip and nap on the 4th of July. A couple of my first responders will go work that event, and in lieu of them working that event, they'll make a donation to the first responder program. And then, so we keep that on a separate donations account for purchase for the first responders. So that amount I'm requesting to roll over is $4,940 in the donations line item.
All looks good. And do we just need to approve passing that along to the board? I see no objections.
Yeah.
Motion. We do? Okay. Can I get a motion for the Supervisor Bauer, Supervisor Gilbert seconds? All in favor of passing along the sheriff's budget carryover summary and request to the full board next month? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes. Anybody have any announcements? That's, that's something to something to document. Yep. All right, the next meeting is March 25th in this room at 4:30, and we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.